Well, the Asia-Pacific market is growing, and out of 25,000 aircraft in the next 20 years worldwide, we see 8,000 of those aircraft worth 1.2 trillion US dollars coming from this region alone.
Wow, from this region alone. Okay, what about specific countries? How's it break down that way?
Well, again, we have the whole global market forecast if you want to see it country by country, but the two biggest countries, of course, will be China and India. China, of course, being the largest. Of those 8,000 aircraft, about 3,000 are the Chinese market alone.
About 3,000, and what's your best guess on the number of those 3,000 that will be Airbus aircraft?
Well, clearly more than 50%, because we have the right aircraft for the Asia-Pacific market. We have the A320 family, the advanced fly-by-wire, very eco-efficient airplane. Then, of course, we have the 330, a fantastic regional airplane, and we have the new 350 and 380s as well. In fact, of the aircraft needed in the next 20 years, worldwide, over 40% of the big twins and over 50% of the very large aircraft like the A380 will be from this region.
But China itself is getting in the game of producing aircraft. Does that present a threat to you and the other major manufacturers? I mean, the C919, they're looking at that as a way to answer their growing domestic demand.
Well, Airbus was founded about 40 years ago. And 40 years ago, over 95% of the commercial market was controlled by the United States with three big players. You had Lockheed, you had Boeing, and McDonnell Douglas. Well, we decided to put a competitor into that market. Today, we have over 50% of that market. The last 7 years in a row, we delivered more than half of all the aircraft in the world. We were built in competition. We love competition. So as far as we're concerned, may the best man win, and we'll all be better for it.
Now, what China's looking for, is it going to be large aircraft like the A380, or is it going to be the smaller, less than 200 passenger single aisle aircraft? And won't they be able to satisfy their own demand for that with this new aircraft that they're developing?
Well, once again, you have to look at the different segments of demand in the different categories. The largest number will clearly be the single aisle airplane. But remember, we have an assembly line in Tianjin. We're building and can build up to 4 aircraft a month of our 319, 320, 321s in Tianjin. Now, that isn't the entire demand for single-aisle aircraft in China, but we're very comfortable that we'll have way in excess of 50% of the market for many years to come, because we have the right aircraft, and yes, they are built in China.
Now, I mean, sort of a general question here. The Dreamliner. It's getting so much attention now, the same way the A380 did. I mean, now that it's, we're actually starting to see it in the air. I mean, is it getting frustrating to you that there's so much attention that's being focused on that aircraft at this point, and that do you feel like it's taking away some of the spotlight?
Well, no, I think the people who count, the people in the industry, are really focused primarily on the A380. Flight Magazine did a very interesting survey last month of aviation professionals about which is the airplane that most changed the 21st century, which is really the game-changing airplane. And by far, the 380 came out on top. The 787, a good airplane, was a distant second.
Another question I wanted to ask you is about the A320. You're re-engineering the engines for that aircraft. Can you talk about that?
Well, we haven't made any commitment to do anything yet. We are looking at whether we want to offer an engine option to go to a new generation of engines, such as the CFMI LEAP X or IAE might have a geared turbofan. By 2015, we think it's a possibility that if we did offer that, we'd see some significant demand for the engine option. Remember, it's not a redesign in any way of the airplane. It's not a new generation 320. It's just offering an option to take some of these new generation engines if the operator wants it.
Let me ask you about sales. Do you have any announcements to make here about sales that you can make at this air show, this first air show of 2010?
Well, other than the fact that it's going to be a slow year, we're not really focused primarily on new orders right now. Last year we said we'd get 300, we got 310. This year we think we'll have somewhere between 250 and 300. But we're delivering close to 500 airplanes a year. The market will stay slow for new orders probably until about 2012.
Were you expecting to have some new orders while you were here? Do you think it's still possible you'll have new orders to announce during this air show this week?
We never really save up orders or anything for an air show, but I think we will make an announcement for the end of the week of a small number of aircraft.
What type of aircraft?
Well, if you actually keep asking those questions, you'll probably figure out who it is. Why don't you wait for the announcement?